Good afternoon, everybody. Pigskin Pete here. Happy Friday to everybody. Thank everybody for joining me for this Friday night beer stream. By the way, cheers. Dilly dilly, as they say. Let me see who's in the chat here. Everybody knows this is a caller-driven show that I do on Friday nights, where we sit here and just hang out, answer stuff in the comments. There's not a whole lot of going on in college football right now, to be honest with you. Just a lot of whining and crying about Clemson and Alabama. Everyone's sick of them. But let me see who's in the chat here. The phone lines are open now. You can call in at 855-902-9368. College Football Maniac, good afternoon to you, sir. Hound Dog, Clemson Carson, the QC. QC, I haven't seen you here in a while, man. I think I made you a moderator like a month ago, as you can see. Anyway, George, good afternoon to you, sir. Art Makepeace, hey. Billy Dawson's in the house. What's going on, Pete? What's going on, Billy? TGIF, yes, thank you. Yeah, I just missed. I was out to eat dinner with my family, and I saw that Catfish was live. I missed his live show. I try to catch that on Fridays if I can. I guess I'll have to go back and watch it. All right. So nobody on the phone lines at the moment. I'll check it again in a second here. George says he might call in later and talk about the great Gators. There's a basketball game tonight, isn't there? What is it? Game 4 of the NBA Finals. What time's that come on? Clemson Carson's in the house. Says, I'm still tired from the 5-hour Uncle Lou stream last night. Yeah, I'm exhausted right now. I wasn't at the live stream, but I didn't get much sleep last night. All right, so it's at 9 p.m. Eastern. That's perfect. So that's I'll shut this stream here down maybe 15 or 20 minutes before that, because I am going to watch that. All right, guys. The number is 855-902-9368. In the meantime, I'm going to... Hound Dogs, stay tuned, sir. You're on the list. You're next on the list. The finals is about the only NBA I watch. Yeah, me too. When I was a kid, man, I loved the NBA. I was actually a big Atlanta Hawks fan, actually. But I loved Dominique Wilkins. You know, back in the day when he was there. The older I got, the less I cared for the NBA. The NBA is just, I mean, you see the scores now, 150 to 148. It's like, come on, man. That's like a daily thing in the NBA now. What's up, Johnny Red Dot? Haven't seen you in a while, sir. Everybody pray Florida beats Clemson and Alabama so we can stop this dynasty bullcrap they got going on. Yeah, good luck with that. What's up, SEC Dog? How you doing, sir? Says, hey, Pete, keep up the great work. Would love to see you call into a Gamecock show. I don't know what the Columbia affiliate is for the Gamecocks. But what do they talk about all day? That's got to be a depressing show. I mean, this guy's probably deserve more money than they're getting. All right, looks like I got a call here on the line. Go ahead and answer this. Good afternoon. You're on with Pete.
Hey, it's George. Pete, how you doing?
What's up, George? Man, you're becoming a regular on the show.
I am becoming a regular.
That's all right.
And it's all so effortless. If I see your shit on my phone, I join in if I can. And it's the same way with Mark Rogers or Alonzo or any of them. It has to pop up on my phone for me to interact. I can't go looking for it and all that.
Yeah.
The notifications work this time.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with YouTube lately, man. I got to who is it? I was looking for somebody's channel the other day that I know I've been subscribed to for a long time, and I was unsubscribed for some reason. And a lot of people shows I don't get notifications for. I mean, I don't know what's going on. There's always a problem with it. A lot of people tell me that they don't get the notification for whatever video I posted or show I did till the next day. I don't know what that's about either, so I don't know.
Don't quote me on this, but there's rumors that it's a satanic Nazi death cult running the thing. So,
well, I mean, I'm pretty sure Google owns YouTube, if I'm not mistaken. And so Google, Google
and Alphabet, it's all a conspiracy to fuck with our YouTube channels.
Yeah, Google,
and they really do. You should see the people. You should see the people crying out on the internet. I had like 1,100 views and 800 likes, and then I had 12 likes and 32 views, and then when they can show you on paper,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Google.
And they demonetize your channel if you even fart,
Yeah, Google's definitely the evil empire, but it is what it is. Anyway, man, you got some. It
is what it is. At least we have a way to talk about football. Thank God.
Yeah. I'm not complaining. Just I don't like being unsubscribed.
Me neither. I
don't like being unsubscribed from people's channels because a lot of times, I like to see when they're live and stuff. And I don't know why. I don't know why YouTube would unsubscribe.
That shit's hilarious, man. I've been unsubscribed so many times. It's hilarious. I can't even remember who I'm unsubscribed from anymore.
Yeah, Art Market Piece makes a good point. Says it's an algorithm based on subs, interactions, etc. If you're lower on the totem pole, then you don't show up. Here's the problem, Art, is I don't need YouTube deciding for me, like what channels I need to be subscribed to and which ones I don't. Like, yeah, there's some channels I might watch on a daily or weekly basis, and there's some I might only watch once a month, depending on what the channel is. But if I don't watch a video for 3 weeks on somebody's channel, that doesn't, in my opinion, that does not give them the right to go and unsubscribe me from that person. You know what I'm saying?
However it's happening, something's going wrong. Yeah.
What's up, sports?
I read a paper by a computer scientist, and he was like a top-notch guy, and he said, there's almost nobody that can really understand what's going on with these algorithms. He said it is running a set pattern, but to decipher it and so that the optimum thing to do for your own channel is almost impossible. It's so complex what they're doing. That's what he said.
Yeah, and they changed
do the best you can. Do the best you can. You'll get to 20,000 subscribers if you just stay on the air.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that. I don't.
Right?
I mean, I'm sure.
Might take a few years.
I don't think of it that way. I just do my thing.
I know. It'd be nice if you got a check someday for commercials.
As long as I'm having fun doing it, then I'll continue doing it. That's what it's all about. So, sports.
I don't consider this the boring part of the year. I think it's the exciting part of the year. My blood's starting to boil. I'm anticipating everything, all the possibilities that could go right. I'm so excited. I just can't wait. And we got recruits coming around, hanging out for the weekends. This is great. Great shit.
Yeah. I see you in the chat. We got Sports Live in the ATL. That's David, or otherwise known as Sleeta. Says, hope you're doing well, Pete. Football's almost here. Thank you, sir. Everyone go check out Sports Live in the ATL if you haven't on YouTube. Bayou Bengal. YouTube wants you to follow late shows and CNN Nothing Entertaining. Yeah. That's it. Yeah, I won't even go there. But you're right. So George, tell me something. Give me some news about the Florida Gators. Tell me something that I don't know, if that's possible.
Well, it's actually pretty simple. We have to beat Miami and LSU and Kentucky and Tennessee and Georgia and Auburn and then potentially Alabama. That's all we have to do, right? We'll be sitting pretty in the playoffs, right?
Oh, that's it? That's all you got to do?
Right. Now, I want you to compare. Tell me what Clemson has to do to get there. That's not right. You should have to play our schedule. It would be based on what you did last year. It's the most difficult schedule. Why is Alabama playing the worst schedule in the SEC, man? Come on.
Well, I think
Come on.
it's not Alabama's fault. It's not Alabama's fault. This stuff is scheduled so long ahead of time.
It's not right for the fans, man. The fans want to see Clemson play Miami, LSU, Tennessee, Kentucky. A bad week, a down week would be Arkansas or Missouri, who will ruin your fucking life. They're all good teams.
Yeah.
And then there's Georgia.
But for instance, when Alabama scheduled Louisville,
And I forgot FSU, man. What a schedule.
what about it?
So go to Florida and play for the Gators. Tell the recruits, don't go to Clemson. Go to Florida.
I mean, Florida State, they got to
Play that schedule.
They got to play Clemson, Florida, and Miami.
God darn it. I just don't understand why we don't get all the best recruits every year.
Well,
Get to play LSU every year. It's so great. I'd go to a school just for that reason.
I mean, well, Florida needs to. You know what I was watching today? I watched something today. I forgot what channel it was on. The Clemson Insider. Anyway, it's like the Clemson local
Yep.
sports reporting people, and they had this two-part segment on with C.J. Spiller. For you know who C.J. Spiller is, right?
Yep.
All right, so a legendary Clemson player, but he's from. I mean, he grew up about 20 minutes from the University of Florida's campus, but he was a Florida State fan. Half of his family was Florida fans. I guess the other half was Florida State fans or whatever. But anyway, he's talking about
I know he is. Yep.
Yeah, he's talking about the recruiting process, and he was a 5-star running back, big time recruit, could have went anywhere, had offers from everybody, and he was really the first big time recruit that Clemson got under Bowden and when Sweeney's the one that recruited them, but Sweeney was the recruiting
About that.
He was
wow.
he was the recruiting coordinator and also the wide receivers coach. But
That's some freaking history there, man.
Yeah.
That's good. I didn't know that.
Yeah, but that was the beginning of Clemson coming into Florida and taking all your great players. So you could thank C.J. Spiller for that because he started a trend.
Well, maybe we'll fix it. I don't know. I don't care if Clemson's in the playoffs as long as we're there. It don't bother me. Clemson's good as anybody else. Plus, I know you and Bobby. I'm on your side, actually.
Well, I mean,
poor Miami has no hope ever because they can't get past you.
Yeah, Miami.
But maybe you never know, huh? Man, maybe US might straighten it out.
Well, Miami doesn't need to worry about Clemson. They need to worry about winning that division, and then anything can happen.
Yeah, I can't even believe that part.
I mean, anything can happen in a one-game scenario, in the ACC championship game. I mean, chances are Clemson's, obviously a better team right now. But you never know. I mean, hell, Clemson almost lost to Syracuse last year. They lost to Pitt, or they did lose to Syracuse the year before that. They lost to Pitt the year before that. So it's extremely difficult to win every game. And if Clemson goes into the ACC title game, no matter who it's against, and they're undefeated, there's always that chance they could lay an egg or something and just have a bad night. So you never know.
Right. You know what I want to say? Like in that movie with they go $1 million, right? You just gave your coach $95 million for 10 years or something for $9.5 million a year. Do you know that?
Who?
Dabo Swinney. You gave him $95 million for 10 years a couple days ago.
Yeah, it's 9.3 for 10 years. Yeah, it's like $93 million contract. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
That's good, don't you think? It's fucking awesome.
Johnny.
All right, if you talk to anybody down at headquarters, tell them to leave a couple players for us, okay?
Johnny Red Dot wants to know if Florida can beat Kentucky.
I'm not going to disrespect Kentucky. They beat us last year. We'll see what happens on our field, man.
Yeah, well, look, man, they don't have...
I'm happy for Kentucky. I'm happy for them. It's the first time they beat us in 30 years. I'm letting them enjoy their fucking moment in the sun.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they lost Josh Allen and Benny Snell, so it could be a rough year for Kentucky.
And Benny Snell actually got drafted. Isn't that great?
Yeah.
He's actually on a team somewhere.
Yeah, who did he get drafted by?
I'm not sure. He was in the later rounds, but still, man, he's on a team somewhere. That guy's like my size. Yeah, I'm 5'6". I think he's 5'6".
Yeah, he's. I don't know. I don't know if Benny Snell's built for the NFL. I really don't. I mean, he's talented and everything.
He is. He's on someone's team. So impressive.
Well, he's on a team
like in the 7th round or something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying.
I can Google it while we're talking.
Just because he made a team doesn't mean he's going to do anything. You know. Oh, I mean,
I know, but still, it's nice to get a couple paychecks, man.
I mean, I feel like he'll be.
But he might hang out on the practice squad for a few years.
He'd be better off just as a slot receiver or something. As a running, he's not big enough to be a running back in the NFL. I don't think.
I agree. That's a problem.
Yeah, but he's got the moves.
Yeah, everything changes.
He's a great athlete. They could put him in the slot, and he could probably be more productive as a slot receiver.
Hey, listen, as far as Kentucky goes, Kentucky runs the same kind of an offense that Miami's going to attempt to run against us. I guarantee it 100%. Because I read an article about it today from one of the sports things, and it showed how they're going to do it and what Kentucky did, except they said it ain't going to work because Florida's not going to fuck up that bad. You know, like we had to be out of position constantly, like a free guy running down the sideline thing, you know? And it said if Florida doesn't do that, they're not going to be able to score, you know? But it showed how they do it, how you distract people and get someone free. And, like, that's Miami's type of people. That's kind of shit they run. So it's interesting. Here we go. We got a ball game. You know, Miami ain't no pushover. You can't count them out. So it's exciting.
That's the toughest game to pick.
I love it.
I know it's week 0, but
I love it, man.
I'm putting them in that week 1 category. All the first games of the year, out of all the let's say top 25 matchups between 2 top 25 teams, is Miami even a what are they ranked? I think they are, right? Maybe not. Anyway, that's the hardest game to figure out.
Ask that again.
Is Miami ranked preseason? I don't even. I pay so.
They're number. I think somebody had them number 19.
Okay, so they are ranked. Yeah. So I pay.
I saw that somewhere.
I pay so little attention to the preseason rankings that I don't know what anybody's ranked. Honestly, I don't. I mean, I know because I looked at it last week and we talked about it. I think that Florida was ranked like number 8, and I thought that was a little bit too high. And but once you get out of the top 5, I agree with the top 5. In any order you want to put them in, it was Clemson, Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, and Oklahoma. I think those were the top 5. Which, I mean, that's pretty much everybody's top 5, right? But after that, once you get out of the top 5, like it's you lose me with some of these teams. I don't know where they come up with where they're putting them, and nor does it matter because, like you said last week, number 15 could end up being number 4. Number 4 could end up being number 30. Just doesn't matter.
Right. I was going to say it again. Thanks for saying it, because it will happen. Inevitably, there will be a couple flip-flops between 13 and 4. And
it happens every year. Yeah. For sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, the reason they're ranking Gators number 8 is because we have the most senior-laden offensive class in all the skill positions returning. The only question mark is the O-line. I promise you it's going to be fine. We're going to score enough points to beat people just like that. And the defense is fucking great. Awesome.
Yeah.
And we do have a little bit of death problem, but that's okay. We'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a close.
I'm excited because
I'm gonna have an eye on Florida this year. There's like 3 or 4 teams, and I see somebody in the chat here. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, Bayou Bengal mentions Nebraska is going to be the most improved this year. I agree, sir. I think that Nebraska could easily win 10 games this year. What's the name of that quarterback they got? He's a early season Heisman contender. His name's on the tip of my tongue. I can't think of it right now. But anyway, Nebraska, Florida, who else? I'm trying to think of middle of the teams that have the potential to, be a top 10 team that probably aren't in the top 10. So I guess Florida's already in the top 10. I can't put them in there. But Florida's one of the more interesting teams. Miami's another one. All the Florida teams, all of them, even UCF, Florida State, Florida, Miami, and UCF are all interesting teams this year for all different reasons.
Yeah.
But they're all interesting teams. And then, of course, Oregon is the one I'm keeping the biggest eye on in the Pac-12 because I think that Oregon – based on their schedule and based on their talent level, I think that Oregon has a legit chance to go maybe undefeated or 11-1 and win the Pac-12. If they go 12-1, as Pac-12 champs, I think they could probably get into the playoff. And people talk about
they just lost Chris Steele.
Yeah, people talk about Clemson's schedule. Look at Oregon's schedule. Look at Washington's schedule. Look at Southern Cal's schedule.
Yeah.
I mean, their schedules aren't very tough, especially out of conference. Now, you could say, well, Oregon's got to play Washington.
They never got a playoff and won a game, have they?
Yeah, Oregon beat Florida State the first year of the playoff in the first round, and then they got waxed. Okay. And then they got waxed.
Wow, that's amazing. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and then they got waxed by Ohio State in the national championship game. But Oregon's the only team to win a playoff game in the Pac-12. And
yeah, I didn't know any had even been there, quite frankly. Oregon didn't know.
Yeah. And anyway, so
I just figured it out.
If you look at now, Oregon plays in the tougher of the two divisions in the Pac-12. They got to play Washington and Washington State every year. But if you look at their out-of-conference schedule every year, it's a joke. I mean, they play nobody university and who gives a crap college. So they with Herbert there, they could really make some noise. The problem with Oregon is they're not consistent and they lose to bad teams every year. Like they do what Clemson used to do, right? They'll go out there and beat a top 10 team and dominate them one week, and the very next week they'll lose to an unranked nobody team that nobody saw coming. And that's what Oregon. That's that hump Oregon's got to get over right now. They've got to be more consistent. But I think this is their year of all years.
I'm so busy thinking about what Orgeron's going to do at LSU and Malzahn at Auburn, and blah blah blah. I don't even really. My thoughts don't drift to the Pac-12 very often. To tell you the truth, that's like junior varsity, man. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, Pac-12 fans. It just doesn't count until you win a championship.
I mean, I'll watch Pac-12 stuff. The problem is it comes on so late here, and
yeah,
I mean,
it's not as exciting, man. Unless Mike Leach is involved. I mean, I'm surprised they didn't get him at Tennessee.
Most of the games aren't that exciting. I'll give you that. But, I mean, watching Oregon against Stanford or Washington versus Washington State.
That was fun that one time. I remember. Yeah.
So, I mean, those
once in a while.
Those games are good. Now, I don't really, I can't really stomach watching Arizona play Colorado. Like, I could care less about that. I mean, I'd rather watch, like, some old reruns of, MASH or something. I don't know.
It's still better than the MAC or whatever. The step up and watching New Mexico State or something.
Yeah.
Although anyway, you think Orgeron's going to do okay this year, or is his job over? And I think they should fire Harbaugh and get Mike Leach, at least make it interesting, huh? Michigan's like the greatest super football power ever, and look how the mighty have fallen. Jesus.
Yeah, no. To answer your question, I do think Orgeron's going to be okay. He's not on the hot seat. Listen, he's surpassed all the expectations that most people had for him already, including me. So,
this is a big year with a tough schedule, man. This is a hard schedule LSU got.
Yeah, they do have a tough schedule. They do. You're right.
I'm like, it's just almost too much to ask. Him and poor Malzahn. You look at their schedules, just like Jesus.
If you look at Coach
in South Carolina got the worst one.
I just hope Coach Orgeron, you know what? He's one of my favorite coaches. I know I rag on LSU a lot because it's fun to do that and they get triggered really easily. But when they made this Coach Orgeron hire, first of all, that was like Christmas Day for me. as far as YouTube goes, because he's so much he's so much fun to.
The whole world has been smiling since that day.
Yes,
I agree.
He's so much.
It's time for Les Miles to go. Come on.
But he surpassed my expectations, and I think they did the right thing by.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, he did make one mistake in my opinion so far, but it wasn't a huge mistake. But he hired Matt Canada, to run that offense.
Yeah.
And, anyway, that didn't work out. They've completely changed their offensive philosophy from what I hear. Now, I don't cover LSU closely. I don't know, the ins and outs. Somebody you guys in the chat could probably tell me better. But they've moved to a more spread style offense, a more traditional type of college style offense that everybody's running now, including Alabama and Clemson and everybody else, Florida. So, if they can get, because they always have great players, right? If they can get an offensive coordinator in there that can actually keep up with the rest of the country and bring it into this century, then yeah, I think LSU, they're as good as anybody. They can beat anybody.
Doesn't it seem like they always have a top 5 class or something, no matter what? Come hell or high water, they're always one of the top ones, no matter what.
Yeah, listen, they do. They've always got one of the best rosters in America. Their defense is always good. You can just go ahead and count on that. But
I would like to think it's almost like the Gators. We just always are pretty freaking good and pretty talented and stuff. And it doesn't always work out, but you really do have the players, and they're like that. Nothing means more to me every year than beating LSU. I consider them like a real team, like Alabama or something, I don't even give Auburn that kind of shade or something. LSU is just fucking, to beat them is like, makes your whole fucking season. Because they're always good. They're always that good. They always got Fournette or somebody or something going on. I was so relieved last year when Burrow struggled a little bit and we got the win, Yeah,
they
But we can pull it off one more time. We got to go to their place this time. It's just they're going to be clicking on all cylinders. I hope Dan can pull it out. Dan's a good game coach.
With the exception of last year, I'd say the previous 3, 4, maybe 5 years before that, LSU had an NFL roster and a high school record. I mean, it was just bad. Like even if
kind of fucked up, I know.
Yeah, you even go back to like 2011 and 12 when they had Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr. Like those are two elite NFL players. Odell Beckham Jr. might be a top 3 receiver in the entire league, and yeah, I'm sure he had a good college career. But what did LSU really do with him? Nothing, because they didn't have a quarterback.
You know how bad it got. Florida would beat them during some of those great years when we definitely shouldn't have, right? And it was just like us beating Georgia when we shouldn't have,
Yeah.
Because they really wasted a lot of talent, those two teams, by bad coaching, apparently, I guess. I don't know.
Thank you to Comic Dude 45 coming through with a $2 super chat. Thank you, Comic Dude. And Comic Dude says the Pac-12 is a Group of 5 conference in disguise. Well, I don't know if I go that far, but I do hear people make the same statement about the ACC all the time, which I know people like to trash talk, but whether it's the Pac-12 or the ACC or whatever, they would run all over a Group of 5 schedule without a problem. But I get what you're saying.
Clemson is the SEC team. You need to figure out how to get over here to the SEC.
We've had this conversation before.
Just for the fun of it.
We've had this conversation before.
I know, just for the fun of it, though, man. It'd be great. Imagine Clemson's on Florida's rotating schedule and LSU's schedule and Alabama's schedule. Like, let's play.
I mean, Clemson's the crown.
Every once in a while you get to play Kentucky.
Clemson and Florida State are the crown jewels of the ACC. They always have been. I mean, they're the oldest team.
Hey, you're listening. It's honest, not true. You're up and coming. You're a step above the Pac-12. Clemson's the outlier, but tomorrow it could be Miami, FSU, and you've got some other teams in there that just could be wicked. They are. Syracuse is good sometimes, but yeah. You're the next best conference, definitely.
Well, really, what needs to happen is Virginia Tech.
I don't know about the Big Ten.
Virginia Tech needs
Virginia
Tech needs to get better, and Miami needs to get better, and Florida State needs to get better. Those 3 teams. If those 3 teams are floundering like they did last year, then the ACC is a joke. But if they even play up to what what they should be playing to. I'm not even talking about winning New Year's Six bowl games every year for those three teams, but winning 10 games at least for those three teams. That should be what you're looking for. 9 at the worst. This business where you're going winning.
It's just even just coming here with the athletes on their team. There's no reason for Florida State, Miami not to be only with one loss at the end of the year or 2 max. They could return tomorrow to glory.
So Johnny Red Dot says
just all coaching. That was Mark Richt's fault, and whatever happened at Florida State's fault. If they could fix that tomorrow, they still got the athletes.
So Johnny Red Dot says
it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Says that he says that Mac Brown will turn around North Carolina, and Clemson Carson says that North Carolina has a top 10 class in the 2020 rankings. I didn't know that. That's pretty impressive. Now, who did I talk to a couple weeks ago on the show? I want to say it was I can't remember. Somebody called in and asked me what I thought about Mac Brown at North Carolina. And I just think that Mac Brown is what you just said, Johnny Red Dot. He said Mac Brown will turn it around. That's my opinion, is what he's there to do, is turn it around, not to win the ACC. I think he's a big Band-Aid. They're like, who can we get in here to change the culture? Because North Carolina just went down the tube so quickly and so violently. And who is that Fedora guy? Fedora, the previous coach. This guy was a walking liability. Do you remember the comments that he made before last season about head injuries and all that? The guy is just like,
yeah,
and that Then they went on after those comments to have a terrible season, and I was like, I even said before the season started, once he said those stupid comments, because some things you just don't say if you're not a complete and total moron, which he clearly was. And I said, if they go do anything less than go to the ACC championship game, they're getting rid of this guy after the end of the season, and that's exactly what happened. So Mac Brown is there to literally save the program. And I think he'll be there maybe 3 years. They'll probably give him 3, 4, maybe 5 years as a max to turn that thing around, get recruiting back on track, get some respect back into that program, and then they'll go out and headhunt for a big-time prospect coach to come in there and take it over. That's the way I feel. I don't think
all the stuff I read in the football magazines right now are giving them a lot of street cred, North Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, I bet.
Like they're not a pushover. They're not a free win.
I mean, that's like me. Listen, I get Mac Brown's a Hall of Fame guy. I get everybody respects him. He's great. He's a Hall of Famer. Blah blah blah. The guy's 100 years old, and he hasn't been coaching in 15 years? I mean, how long has it been? 12 years?
Yeah,
something like that.
I wasn't saying anything about Mac Brown. I was just talking about the actual players. They say they got a pretty good team. The street magazines, stuff I read.
I mean, that's like saying just because less.
And as far as Mac Brown goes, I know him. I know Mac Brown. I lived in Texas. I mean, the whole thing to me, like, are we like having a drought of football coaches or something? Like, are there no other coaches to hire? What's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, there must not be.
We need to start a college football coach school and train coaches.
I mean, who can't wait to see Les Miles on the sideline at Kansas? I mean, I can't. Yeah. I can't wait for that.
I want to see a 90-year-old guy coaching a game.
I'm going to watch at least 3 Kansas games this year just because Les Miles is the coach. And that'll be 3 more that'll be 3 more Kansas games that I've watched in the past 20 years.
Right. We're going to watch for the halftime interview and the postgame interview and the whole damn thing.
Yeah. Bayou Bengals says,
all right, I forgot what I called for, man.
Yeah, it's all good.
Go Gators.
All right, man. Thanks, George.
All right. Talk to you later, Pete.
Yep. Hey, folks, George calling in. George filling up the airtime. Nobody else calling in, so hell, I could talk. I'll talk to you for 3 hours if there's nobody else calling in. Anyway, anybody else wants to call before I get off? The number is 855-902-9368. I'll give it a couple minutes. If somebody wants to call in, great. If not, I'll just turn the call-in studio thing off. It's just a slow night tonight. But thank you all for everybody who is here in the chat. I appreciate it. Les Miles won a championship, but he isn't a legend. He's not a legend at LSU, I guess is what you're saying. He's 64. Yeah. What's up, Prince? How you doing, sir? Welcome to the show. I'm sure if you're here, you're amazing and fantastic. If Kansas even wins 4 games, that would be an accomplishment. No, they should win more than that. They won that last year, didn't they? I think they did. SEC Dog, I see him continually saying that Georgia's terrible. They have 0 chance. Everyone else should just, rest their players and let Clemson and Alabama play. I know he's being facetious. I guess he must be feeling the wrath of social media or something. He says we should just pack it up and play and forget football. I don't know, SEC Dog. I think that most people with any sense are looking at Georgia as a contender for the playoff this year. I am. Of course, I have sense. All right, looks like I got a call here. Well, if I can find a way to pick it up without hanging up on him first. Good afternoon. You're on with Pete.
What's up, buddy?
What's up?
So I got a question, man. Did you ever think? I mean, I'm a Clemson grad of 06, so I'm a little bit of a homer. But
okay.
Did you ever expect Dabo to be doing this? I remember where I was when Tommy got fired. I was in an airport, and just like everybody else in the country, I said, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. Well,
did you expect that? Did you see that coming? Did anybody see that coming?
Well, I saw Bowden getting fired. Yeah, and I was actually calling for his head about 3 years before he got fired. I was done with him.
Right.
Right. Now, when they hired Dabo, no, I don't think anybody saw that coming. But that, it didn't take long to figure out why they did that. I just mentioned with the last caller that Dabo was the main recruiter at Clemson. He was the recruiting coordinator, and he was really responsible for getting the best talent to Clemson on both sides of the football during his time as an assistant. So that's the reason they hired him as the interim. Now, early on, I was a little bit skeptical because nobody knew who this guy was, right? He'd never even been a coordinator, anything other than an assistant to a coordinator, a positions coach. So I was a little skeptical at first, but after the first 2 years, even though he wasn't beating South Carolina, I knew that there was something special about this guy. There was a clear change in just the overall attitude and perception of the program itself. And so I could see that he had things heading in the right direction. Now, if you would have asked me in 2010, can you picture a scenario where 8 years from now Clemson's going to be, the best program, right there with another team, Alabama, the best program and the model of college football, and win 2 national championships? I probably wouldn't have believed that. No.
You know what brings a smile to my face is when, I'm at work and I'm hearing Alabama fans hating us. Yeah. That says a lot.
Yeah. Which is surprising because they should know what it's like. But right. I mean, I think that it's easy to hate. It's easy to hate, somebody if you've been the big bully on the block for the past decade, and somebody comes along and is pushing you back and pushing you around, and it's easy to hate that person. I don't really think that most Alabama fans are like that. I think it's the minority is the loudest on the internet, that type of thing. I don't think that most Alabama fans feel that way about Clemson.
No, I wouldn't say. It's a good rivalry type thing, but the fact that we're relevant, the fact that, well, I guess 10 years ago, you knew what we were. We were the scrappers, the cardiac cats.
Yeah.
The ones that could never finish.
Yep.
So it's good to be for Alabama fans to see me with a Clemson shirt on and say, "Oh God!" And instead of just not even saying anything, it's we're living in a heyday for sure.
Yeah. What I love to hear is when they say, "Where did all these Clemson fans come from?" There was no Clemson fans back in 2008. It's like, yeah, we were here. You just didn't give a crap. Yeah. Nobody cared about us or paid us any attention. I mean, that's the difference. You weren't looking for us back in 2008. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. What do you make of all these 5 stars we're getting, man?
Hey, I'm not surprised about that at all. I see, once you win a couple of national championships in a short amount of time, then you're on everybody's radar, no matter if they're from California or Oregon, Hawaii, or wherever. I mean, that's just is what it is, man. And if you get a group of these guys together, like this is what seems to be happening, especially with this 2020 class, is that, back 20 years ago, 30 years ago when I was a kid, and you didn't have the contact between these high school players from all over the country that they have with each other now. So it doesn't matter where you live in the country. Like they're friends with other elite players across the country because of social media and because these all-American type of high school football games they get together and play once a year in high school. So these guys, they can coordinate from across the country with each other and say, hey, we're all in the same class. Let's all go to do something special. And that's what you're seeing happen at Clemson with the 2020 class. These guys have all sort of come in together as a group to try to go there and be dominant. And that's a new phenomenon, I believe, just since the social media era. And it's just happening more and more now. But so I'm not surprised about it. I do think that I don't really like to get too excited about stars. I mean, I know stars are important. I don't like to get too excited about stars. I'd rather have a bunch of guys that are team players and a bunch of look-at-me guys. But I think that Dabo Swinney is pretty good for the most part at weeding out those guys that are just looking for all the glory for themselves,
Right. So that kind of leads me to the next thought was that are you worried about them not being the type of, the caliber of character that, a Renfro or, the people that we've gotten in the past that may have been a 3 or 4 star and that were, really good team players and, not about the ego. And are you worried about that at all?
No, the reason I'm not worried about it necessarily is because I think that despite the fact that it is a bunch of 5 stars and a bunch of, quote unquote, famous high school football players, I still believe that Swinney and that coaching staff still know exactly what kind of guy they're going after. They don't go after every single 5 star. They do look at the person before they recruit them. So I don't worry about it too much. Now, there always is a chance that 1 or 2 of those guys could come in and be a distraction, but I don't have any doubt in my mind that if you do have one of those bad apples, that he'll be gone so fast his head spins. I just don't think that that's the kind of program that Swinney wants. He's not going to let anybody be the me guy.
Remember Bryce Brown, that 5-star running back we were supposed to have?
Yes.
Do you remember what happened? I can't remember what happened to him. I don't know if he got kicked off or he left or...
I think he left on his own. And that's another thing is you've got... what was his name? Chad Kelly. Remember Chad Kelly?
Of course.
Yeah, Chad Kelly was upset because he lost the starting job to, I think, Cole Stout, right? And,
right.
And he blew up on the sideline. And of course, he was gone. He got kicked out. And, of course, you can see he's... Dabo Swinney knew what he was doing because he went on to be a distraction at Ole Miss, and then as soon as he got into the NFL, he already got arrested and is doing the same shit that he was doing when he was at Clemson. So the guy's a complete and total idiot, and that's what he gets. But yeah, a lot of these teams, man, they don't care like a Johnny Manziel or some of these players that just get in trouble over and over again. Jameis Winston, even Cam Newton was a little bit of a a troublemaker in college. And some of these schools, they just don't care. As long as they win football games, they'll take anybody. But I think that even Coach Saban, I think he's similar to Sweeney in that way. They don't put up with any nonsense. Like, they're not letting an 18, 19, 20-year-old kid run that program. Like, they've got a firm grip on things.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I'm very confident in Dabo's abilities, and as far as choosing the right character for the team and the university, and he has a proven track record of that. As you pointed out with Chad Kelly, and I can't remember if Bryce Brown was under Tommy or if that was Dabo, but
I think it was that was right during the transition time. So
yeah,
I want to say
he ended up doing nothing.
Yeah, he ended up doing nothing. I want to say that was like that might have been Bowden's last year that happened. I think. Yeah.
Somebody may have already asked this thing, but who you got in your top four, man, at the end of the year?
So you think? Are you asking me for the top four preseason, or who I think is going to make the playoffs?
No, yeah, top four at the end of the year.
At the end of the year, okay.
When it matters.
All right, so
at the playoffs.
Where we sit right now on June 7th, 2019, because this is going to change 100 times between now and then. But I'm going to go ahead and just say I'm obviously going to put Clemson in there because I just think they're clear-cut favorites to get back to the playoff, right? So Clemson.
Sure.
Oh, man. I'm going to put Oklahoma back in. I think that
really?
Yeah. I just think now Texas could be a thorn in their side and maybe give them a loss that keeps them out of the playoffs. It's hard to tell, but I still think that Oklahoma is the team to beat in the Big 12, and I think they'll at worst go 12-1 and win the Big 12. So that's Clemson and Oklahoma. Now, it's the Big 10. The easy thing for me to say would be that Michigan would finally get over the hump, beat Ohio State. And that may still happen, but I still feel like that Michigan is going to lose another game somewhere. They're going to lose 2 games somewhere, at least one of them that they shouldn't lose. And that'll keep the Big Ten out of the playoffs for, I think, the 3rd straight year. And so that brings us down to the SEC and the Pac-12, right? So the SEC, you can flip a coin between Georgia and Alabama because that's who I believe is going to be back in the SEC title game. But I'm going to obviously say Alabama because why wouldn't I? And so now we've got Clemson, Oklahoma, and Alabama. So that's 3 of the 4 teams that were in it last year. The 4th team is my dark horse pick, the team that I'm riding high on ever since the end of last offseason, and that is the almighty Oregon Ducks. I think the Oregon with Justin Herbert could.
That's a bold call, man.
Yeah. I think that Oregon they have as easy a path to the playoff as anybody else does, as long as they don't slip up. They have the team to do it. If they don't slip up,
I really do see them putting in, like they did, I guess a couple of years ago, putting 2 SEC teams in there again. I do see Alabama and Georgia going in. Georgia has been strong the last few years. I mean, knock on the door, and they did what they did the year before, but I see them doing that again. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, Oregon, that's a bold call. I mean, you may have some more insight than I do, but I mean, Oklahoma's always been the laughing stock of the playoffs. They're like the Bills back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Like Ohio State was,
I mean, I will say, out of all those picks, I mean, obviously Oregon's is a shot in the dark. That's just me, trying to get somebody different in there. But Oklahoma, Oklahoma's had it. Let's be honest here. They first of all, they're a great team. They're definitely a top 4 or 5 team every year. I'm not disputing that. But Oklahoma has had, with Texas being down for like a decade, and the rest of the Big 12 just wasn't very good for a long time. So Oklahoma's kind of had a breeze of a walk into the playoffs these past few years. But listen, they have at least lived up to their potential in those playoff games. They haven't been destroyed. They've given teams good games, so that they haven't. I can't say that they don't belong.
They were destroyed by us.
Well, yeah, they did. You're right. I take that back. They got destroyed by us. That was what was that? 2015. Or 16, whatever. Anyway, yeah, something like that. It was when Baker Mayfield was like a sophomore or something. But they gave. I mean, hell, they had Georgia dead to rights. They should have beat Georgia. But anyway, that was a great game, that Rose Bowl game. And then, I mean, they did lose by a couple touchdowns last year to Alabama, but they scored 35 points on Alabama. And, they didn't just lay down and die. So they at least held their own. A lot better than Notre Dame did against Clemson and so forth. So,
well, yeah. Notre Dame has no business at all in any kind of playoff.
Well, if you go 12-0, I think you do. I do. I mean, listen.
You play conference championship. You don't.
Well, yeah.
You get to pick who you play.
I know. I get all that. But if you're a Power 5 team and you play 10 Power 5 teams a year, because that's what Clemson. I mean, they played the same amount of Power 5 teams as Clemson did, even without the title. The conference championship game. So they played 10 big boy schools. They beat all of them. If you're in the Power 5 conference and you go undefeated, then you should be in. And look, man, at the end of the day, they gave up as much of a fight against Clemson as Alabama did. So,
do you think that if the playoff committee took all conference champions from even the the lower tier conferences, like I can't remember the names of them, but they took the South Florida, the Central Floridas, all of the conferences. There are 12 conferences total. I'm not sure.
Are you talking about even the? Well, there's 5 Power 5 conferences, and then there's 5 Group of 5 conferences. That's 10.
So that's 10, right?
Yeah.
What do you think of the idea of taking all the conference champions and 2 wild cards and expanding it to 12? Do you feel like we dilute it? Do you feel like it'd be more like a March Madness type situation, or that would allow a Cinderella? And do you think it'd be worth it?
No, I don't like the 12. I've been on record as saying I'm not opposed to a 6-team playoff, maybe 8 at the most. I think once you get out of that top 8, there's a big gap between those people and the people want 16 and all 12 or 16. I mean, who was the 12th best team in the country last year at the end of the year? Who was ranked number 12? I don't know who it is. I'm guessing it was probably.
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I mean, but it was probably somebody that had no chance in hell at winning a natty, right? I mean, maybe like a 1% chance. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the expansion, man. Really, I am not. I like the 4 teams. I think 6 teams would be interesting if they 4 and then 2 wild cards. Maybe they could put an exemption in there for one Group of 5 team like UCF if they're the best team in the Group of 5 to get an automatic bid in, and as that 6th team or something like that. But I think the more teams you add, the more it waters it down, and I don't want it to be like the NFL where 16, 20 teams get in there. I don't want that.
Yeah, it's a little different, but I mean, how many times have we seen? I'm not sure. I really don't know the stat, but how many times have we seen a wild card win the Super Bowl? Right? Like I don't know, but that's a totally different animal, right?
Yeah, it's definitely different. Yeah.
So,
here's the difference.
If you don't mind, back to Notre Dame. Like as far as they like if they get their stuff together, right? If they get the recruits they need, if they actually start playing somebody, they have a bye before the playoffs, regardless, right? They don't participate in an ACC conference championship, right? Am I right? Or am I wrong?
No, you're right. Notre Dame is taking the ACC and smacked it around and made it its bitch because and listen, the ACC has allowed this to happen, period. Because we say, okay, big bad Notre Dame, you can be in the ACC in baseball. You can be in the ACC in basketball. You can be in the ACC in whatever else sport you want. But we'll let you just sort of, slide in under the radar, not be in the ACC as far as football, but you're still going to play a full ACC schedule. So you can come up and beat on our lower tier teams and make our conference record worse, and you get all the credit for it. Look, Notre Dame's an ACC team, period. The only difference is we don't get the revenue that they make off their football games. We don't get a cut of that because all these other ACC teams, they put there's a split where there's a sharing of revenue. Well, Notre Dame does not share revenue. And so I have a serious problem with that. I have a big-time problem with that. I also have a problem with what you said, that they don't have to play a conference championship game. But there's a double-edged sword to that because if Notre Dame, if they want to have their cake and eat it too, they're going to have to go 12-0 to make the playoffs. And that's not going to happen very often. So it's just going to take maybe 1 or maybe 2 years in a row where they go 11-1 and get left out of the playoffs, and then they'll be joining a conference. That's what it's going to take, though. It's not going to happen until then.
And I equate them to the spoiled rich kid riding daddy's coattails is what I do. That's exactly what they are.
Yeah.
It's just because they're Notre Dame and just because they come from a privileged family or whatever, you know what I mean? Like it's whatever they've done in the past. I just don't ever think they'll be relevant again. Ever. I really don't. Like, they may come to the playoffs and they may get blown out like they did this year. And when they play Alabama for the national championship or whatever it was, I just feel like the amount of talent that they're able to recruit to the Great White North is just not, or Midwest, but I just don't feel like they'll ever be relevant. The hotbed in recruiting is obviously in the South. And I just don't see them taking the players from the South, as many as there are top tier programs in the South.
I mean, I still think that listen, as long as they have an elite head coach. So put it this way. So, I mean, you can make the same argument that you're making about Notre Dame for Nebraska, but Nebraska gets a superstar hotshot coach like Scott Frost in there, who's young. He's got ambition. He can recruit. And so Nebraska, I mean, who do you know anybody that lives in Nebraska or ever wanted to live in Nebraska? No, it's a I mean, who says I can't wait to go on vacation to Nebraska? It's so beautiful there. But you get what I'm saying. So Notre Dame they have the name brand, they have the tradition, they have everything. They got the financial supporting boosters and all that. So they've got everything they need. As long as they have a good coach, they can be relevant. But it's going to be until they actually join a conference. It is going to be hard for them to stay relevant because they're not going to go 12-0 every year. And the ACC, in my opinion, look, if they want to be independent, it's a free country. Be independent, but be like BYU, right? BYU is truly independent. They don't affiliate themselves with another conference where they play an entire 80% of a conference schedule and then say, oh, but we're not in that conference. It's a different animal. So this is not Notre Dame's problem. This is the ACC's problem. And I feel like if the ACC told them to take a hike and kick rocks, would there be another conference that would let them have a similar deal? Would the Big Ten let them do this? Like what they're doing to the ACC? I don't think they would. Maybe they would. I don't know, but I don't think they would. I know the SEC wouldn't do it. And I'm pretty sure the Big 12 wouldn't let them do it either. So,
well, the SEC would never have them because of geographic reasons, but
yeah, well, that's probably true too. But the ACC is to blame for this. They really are to blame for it. It's their fault, not Notre Dame's fault. Notre Dame's taking advantage of the ACC, not the other way around.
Yeah, don't get me. I mean, I'm surprised. I know BYU has had their heyday, but I mean, to be honest with you, and BYU, I know when they go to BYU, they have to do some sort of mission trip, right? So when they come back, they're older, right? Not a lot of it older, but they got 25, 26, 27-year-olds on the team, right? And I'm surprised they haven't used that to their advantage, right? But so they got a little bit more, quote unquote, grown men, but that's not a lot of people want to go to BYU and go on a mission trip or do whatever they do with the Mormon church,
Well, yeah, we won't even get into that. I mean, BYU's they've got that's a weird college, to be honest with you. But that just makes it even more strange why Notre Dame. I mean, Notre Dame's a Catholic school. I mean, it's not like it's. I know people feel certain ways about Catholics or whatever, but it's not the same as a Mormon school, in my opinion. It's much more loose than the structure of a Mormon school. I mean, Mormons are very, very hardcore with their religious beliefs and what they allow, the type of people they allow in their school and all of that. Notre Dame's not that way. All Notre Dame cares about is if you have the money to go there and you have the grades to get in there. They don't care about anything else. You don't even have to be Catholic, So, but anyway,
If you had,
go ahead.
Sorry, if you had an over/under for how many years Dabo and Clemson stay relevant, what's it going to be?
Well, since he just signed a new 10-year contract, I'll do over under 10, and I will say. Okay. I'll say over 10, and I know that's going to get me looking like a homer, except for I just believe as long as he's there, they're going to be relevant, period. I mean, it also depends on what people's definition of relevant is, right? Because to me, even if you're a top 15 team year in, year out, you're relevant. But, some people feel like you're only relevant if you're making the playoffs every year. I don't think that way. But
that's what I meant by relevant, was top 4 in the playoffs, or at least top 8, top 6 or 8.
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll be in that. I think they'll be a top 10 program as long as he's there. So if it's so basically what you're really asking me is over under of how long I think Dabo will be there, and so I think the answer to that for me is over. I think he'll be there more than 10 years from now. So over.
Yeah, I really don't think he's going anywhere. He has exactly what he needs and what he wants, and
right.
There really is no appeal now to get Alabama done. Like he's done what he wanted to at Clemson, and he can continue to do exactly what he's doing at Clemson. There's it's no upgrade at this point. It's it's a lateral move, and maybe because this is alma mater, but I don't feel he's that type of person. I feel like he wants to grow his own program, and he wants to continue that and make his own mark in history. I don't feel like going to Alabama and riding, Saban's coattails, or not that he would, right? I feel like they are on the same playing field, right? They're on the same level, and even more so if Dabo has, the slight edge.
Yeah, I could see a scenario where, and this is just my opinion. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? But I could see a scenario where, if sometime late in his career, after he's achieved everything he wants to achieve at Clemson, could go back to Alabama for 2 or 3 seasons, in his 60s, in his mid to late 60s, and just go back home and for the nostalgia of it, and finish his career out at Alabama. But I just don't see it happening anytime soon. You know what I mean?
No,
Yeah.
absolutely not.
Yeah.
It would be an interesting, what if
Yeah.
if he hadn't had this much success at Clemson or, but, that's down a rabbit hole.
Hey, you never know, man. This guy, I mean, he could wake up one morning 5 years from now and just say, I've accomplished everything I want to accomplish as a coach. I'm just going to go spend this $93 million and chill out and just quit football altogether. You never know, man. So.
And he's kind of shown that in his past, with real estate, but
Yeah.
he kind of just said, this ain't working. I'm done. But
Yep.
you're right. Anything can happen.
Yep.
Anything can happen.
Yep. All right, man. Listen, I'm going to end the show because my computer's dying, but I really appreciate you calling in. And don't be a stranger, man. Call back in anytime.
All right, Pete. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Have a good one.
You too.
There you have it, folks. I'm going to answer one more call because they've been waiting. And so I'm going to take this quick call real quick before my computer dies. Good afternoon. You're on with Pete.
Hi, Pete. Hi, Pigskin. I'm a first-time caller
Hey, how you doing?
to your show. I have a question. I think you can answer this for me. What would have been your prediction? Like, what if a person like Jimmy Johnson has stayed in Miami for a while? If he didn't go to the Cowboys that won Super Bowls there, do you think he would have stayed at Miami till this point in time and had coaches under him, younger coaches coaching under him to replace him, or do you think he would have still left for the pros?
Oh man, that's so hard to say. It's been so long. that was like in the what year was that he left Miami? I mean, left college.
1991, I believe. 91, 92.
Yeah. So the first part of your question, I think you asked me, would I think he would still be there if he didn't go to the pros? No, I don't think so. That'd be a 30-year career there. I feel like that Jimmy Johnson, and this is without me really knowing, because I've always thought of Jimmy Johnson as the Cowboys head coach. I know that he's a legend in Miami and all that, but I think really what he's best known for really is his years in Dallas, right? So I feel like that Jimmy Johnson sort of always wanted to be an NFL head coach, and college was sort of a stepping stone for him to do that. Yeah, and whereas a lot of coaches, that's true, but there's other coaches where they don't want to be NFL coaches. The college is their destination. So it's just depends on the person.
And I have a question. What's your predictions for my Hurricanes? Realistically, you're not a Clemson fan. From a Clemson fan point of view, what's your realistic win projections for the Hurricanes? Mine is like 10-2, 10-3, 11-2 maybe.
Okay, yeah, so I'm right there with you. I think based on Miami's schedule, they really don't have any business losing more than one game during the regular season. Now, that doesn't mean that they won't. I think 10-2 is very reasonable. I think 11-1 is doable. And then, of course, obviously, I'm going to say I think that if they meet Clemson in a title game for the ACC, they're going to lose that game. So that would put them at either 11-2 or 10-3. So I'm right there with you.
And 12-2, including the bowl game, maybe, depending on who we play.
Right.
In the bowl game, like in the 3 or 6 bowl game. And with Clemson, if we play them in the ACC championship this year, do you think we're close talent-wise yet, or we're still not close enough to where we can keep the game close? It still would be a blowout.
I don't think you're close talent-wise yet. I think that Miami's defense is maybe going to be the second best defense in the ACC behind Clemson, or maybe right there with Clemson. I don't know. I mean, I know Miami's defense is going to be good. Offensively, Miami's got a long way to go to catch up with where Clemson is right now. So that's the thing. It's going to take you. I mean, I like Manny Diaz, and I think he's going to be good, but this isn't going to be an overnight success. I think it's going to take them a few years to get to where they can compete with somebody like Clemson. I really do. But anything can happen in a one-game scenario.
And with Dabo, realistically, I don't think Dabo's I'll be realistic with you. I know he signed a 10-year contract with Clemson, but realistically, I think he might want to go pro, coach a team or something like coach a pro football team in the future. Or do you think he's more of a realistically? Do you think he's more of a college coach?
Yeah, no, I don't think he's going to go to the NFL ever. No, he's not. He's not.
He's one of those college coaches that are not.
He's the type of guy. He likes working with young men, with kids. I don't think he's a pro guy at all. No.
His personality doesn't fit pro football, is what you're saying. Because of the money issue. Okay. Yeah, that's the reason why I was wondering about the whole Jimmy Johnson thing. Do you think his personality fit better in the pro because he knows how to deal with older that type of player, like people who know how to deal with money and stuff like that, or he would have been a better college coach than a pro coach if he wasn't the Cowboys. Didn't go pro.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but see, back in the day, back in the early '90s, like you were saying, the NFL coaching money was way more than a college coach made. It wasn't even close. Nowadays, it is close. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure Dabo Swinney and Nick Saban and some of these other Urban Meyer, what he was making, and Lincoln Riley, I think they make more than the majority of NFL head coaches, right? So it's not a money thing anymore. It's really just a matter of.
So he makes more than Bill Belichick?
Well, I don't know what Bill Belichick makes, but I bet you it's not much more than Dabo. If it is, it can't be. I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, I agree with you. Realistically, I don't think the game is going to be close. Maybe we lose by 10 or 20 points, but not like 30 like we did last year, to be honest. Because that was a blowout, to be honest. So, honestly, with Dabo, I'm a Miami fan. I'm starting to not like Clemson for getting all the best. They got the back-to-back years in recruiting. They got 5-star quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence and DJ from California. DJ Ukulele or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
It's like they're set up for the next 20 years, basically, at the quarterback position.
Yeah, they're killing it. They're killing it at the quarterback, killing it at wide receiver, killing it on defensive line. So, yeah, they're just killing it, man. Killing it. In your opinion, what's the weakest position on the Clemson team when it comes to producing like pro talent? Linebacker.
I thought me and myself it would be defensive back. I don't see a lot of, like top level Clemson defensive backs in the NFL, like Pro Bowlers or anything like that.
Here's a few. I mean, I guess. You could say that too. I mean, listen, all the entire offense, they're all. I mean, there's NFL players from offense all over from Clemson, but same with defensive line. But you're right, linebackers, defensive back.
Yeah, and I enjoyed my Dolphins selecting Christian Wilkins. I saw his tape when he was at Clemson. He looks like, honestly, the second coming of like a Vince Wilfork type of athlete at defensive tackle.
Yeah,
you agree with that comparison?
Yeah, he's. Are you a Dolphins fan?
Yeah.
Yeah, believe me, he's gonna be one of your favorite players if he's not already. That guy's. Yeah, he's.
That I saw his interview at the end of the national championship. That was so hilarious.
Yeah, it's impossible not to like that guy. Yeah, he's got it all, man, and he's a great player.
He's
too.
the best defensive lineman. Like, is he better than the other defensive tackle that got drafted and the defensive end that got drafted? Was he the best player on that defensive line, or was it Cleveland Farrell?
I think it's just a matter of opinion. I think they're pretty close. Yeah.
Okay, so talent-wise, they're close. It's just a matter of opinion on position.
Right.
And okay, thanks for answering the call.
Yeah, man.
When is your next show?
What's that?
you do shows on Saturday or Sunday?
No, during the off season, I do one every Friday night, like I'm doing now. And then during the season, or once we get close to the season, I'll do 2 or 3 live shows a week. So, and I'll announce the date, which days and times I'm doing it once I figure that out. But right now, it's just Friday night.
What's your prediction for the score for the Hurricanes with all this off-season problems with UF? What's your prediction for the score for that game versus Miami? Me being a Miami fan, I would say Miami 27, then 20 or 23 points.
You talking
you
about?
agree with that score? Or you think Miami would blow them out?
You're talking about Florida?
Yeah, Florida.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think it's gonna be a blowout. Oh God, I'd say 3 points or less. 27-24, 31-28, something like that.
Okay, so you don't think it's going to be like the Hurricanes or the Gators winning by 10 or 20 points? You think it's going to be 7 points or less?
Yeah, that's what I think personally. I mean, who knows? Both those teams are hard to figure out right now, but anyway.
Yeah. Honestly, the Hurricanes' defense is way better than the Gators, to be honest.
We'll see.
That's why overall.
Hey, we'll see, man. We'll see.
Have a good weekend, then.
All right, man. Thanks for calling in. All right. So that was the last call I could take, guys. I got somebody else on hold, but my computer's not going to make it. So before I get off, I want to give. So whoever's on hold, I apologize. I got a couple of super chats came in. Ramon Jordan in the house says Kane Gang. Thank you, sir. $3 super chat from him. DeAndre Crawford coming through with a $2 super chat. Thank you, sir, so much. And there was so much going on in the chat this last 20 or 30 minutes while I've been on the phone. I apologize. I saw BVD stopped in. KOS Sports is here. Slightly biased Pac-12 fan. All these people stopped in. Ramon Jordan again. DeAndre Crawford. Lateralus. So thank you all that did stop in, whether you stopped in early or late. D. Revley, Anthony Manzano, good afternoon to you, sir. So thank you all for stopping in. I wish that I could stay on. It's been an hour and 20 minutes, and I'm going to go watch this this NBA game, this finals game. So thank you all for stopping in. Thank you for all the callers. Thank you for all the people who donated. Comic Dude 45, Ramon Jordan, DeAndre Crawford. Thank you to all my Patreon members. Let's see if I can remember them off the top of my head. Billy Dawson, Tiger Nation, Catfish from the Volunteer Roadshow, Hound Dog, and there's one more. Border Bob. Thank you. Thank you to all you guys. I could not do the show without you. There's a link in the description to every live video I do to the Patreon page if you want to support me that way. It's much appreciated. Love you all. Have a great, great night. And go Raptors, right? Or does anybody care? I don't. I really don't care who wins. But go Raptors anyway. Good afternoon. Pigskin Pete checking.